Hey guys, my name is Jennifer and I am Jenofeve Designs. Today we are going to continue working on our Ephemera Folder Album, Ephemera Holder Album. I don't know what we're calling it yet, but we are working with the Basically Amazing Foundations, the Basically Amazing add-on scrap journal. And in the last video, this is what we did in the last video. We made the covers. Let's see. Yeah, we made the covers and we embellished the outside covers with some printables. And we did a little bit of stenciling and modeling paste on here. So we're going to continue working, finishing up the outside covers a little bit. And we're going to do the binding piece. We're going to put that in, and we're going to mat the inside of the covers. And we may even be able to start working on the covers for the inside journals. There's also like inside covers. I don't know how to explain it yet. So if you want to see how we got to this point so far, I will link the last video up here for you guys. So it's a long video, but there are timestamps in it. And you can skip to whatever part you want to see, or if you want to just see how we did the embellishing of the covers, you can do that as well, but I will let that video is linked. You can check it out. But there's also a very specific playlist for this album, and it starts with the introduction to the templates and then the introduction to the add-on, and I'm not sure what else. Maybe even a flip through of the prototypes that I made, and then this video here. I will link that playlist up here and down below. So what we're going to start with, I think, so we did the stenciling and the modeling paste, the Liquitex modeling paste on here. I can't tell how well you can actually see this because my monitor, I can't really see it at all. But I want to add a little bit of color to the modeling paste, so I think I'm going to do that with, with the Speckled Egg Distress Oxide, just because that's what we've been using lately. Some of you already have it. Plus, I really like the color of this one. I'm sure there's other inks out there that are similar in color, so you just use whatever color you want or whatever you have. But this is the one I'm going to use. I used it in my prototype, which is this one. You can barely see it, but it does add a little bit of contrast, a little bit of color to the covers. This is it. I sprayed it on the cover, the whole entire back cover of the prototype. We're not going to do that, but although that's pretty, that would look really nice, but we're not going to do that. So this is kind of the look we're going for. We might go a little bit heavier. We'll see. But I also have an Amazon list specifically for this project if you want to check out the different things that we're going to be using. And I'm going to get some ink on here, and I'm going to scoot in, I think, so that you can kind of see. We're going to start at the back cover just in case we don't like it or we mess up a little bit, if that makes any sense. So I'm going to put that there for you. Okay, I will also put timestamps below this video as well if you want to jump around, if you want to just see the binding, how to put the binding piece in. You can totally just skip to that if you would like. So I just inked up my little dauber here, and I'm just going to barely like go in circular motions like this, and I'm going to barely hit the surface. So I'm going to start over here in the corner, and I'm just going to barely hit where we put the modeling paste. So this is the modeling paste. This is a flexible modeling paste that I used. Let's see if I can get there we go. I'll have it linked in my Amazon. And where did the stencil go that I used? It's not it. What did I do with it? I'll have to find it. Oh, no, here it is. This is the stencil that I used in the last video. This one is a Stampers Anonymous. What's it called? What's it called? Wildflower Layering Stencil. Is this what this one's called? Okay, so I'm just going to go and skim over the top gently. So I'm trying to keep the bulk of the ink on the modeling paste there. We could have, if we really wanted to be super specific about what color this was going to be, we could have mixed the Distress Oxide in with the modeling paste before we put it on here, but yeah, we didn't do that. So can you see the difference? Here's some right here, and then here's some with the Distress ink on it. I just think it looks so pretty. I'm going to ink up some more. And I'm not pushing hard. I'm just going in circular motions right over top of where we put the stencil. I just love the look it gives. It adds that color, but it's not completely opaque. It's transparent still, but it adds a little bit of contrast in color. I really like the way it looks. Okay, let's come over here. How far did we go up on here? Okay, this is the spine part. So you can go as heavy or as light as you would like. I just love it. I think, and it also looks really pretty with this purple, with the digital, the printable paper that we picked. I'm trying to get you. Let's go to the front cover here. I might have to scoot back out a little bit so you can see. And sometimes it will hit the, where we cut out the flower out of the cardstock, it'll hit that edge, but that's okay. I think that just lends to it as well. I think I might have got it all. So that's what it looks like now. Let me scooch back just a little bit more. Right, and I feel like this one might be a little too much right there. So I wonder if we can remove some without causing too much trouble. Let me see what I can find. I'm going to take just a paper towel. So this is just an experiment. This may not work. I'm going to spray it with some water, and then I'm going to pull some of that up. Yeah, that worked. Let's see. Let's do it over here. So if you get too heavy-handed and you don't like it, you can take some away. That's nice. Just dabbing it with a little bit of water. Since Distress ink and Distress Oxide, they are water activated, you know, they react to water. You can almost erase, maybe not all the color, but you can erase some. So yeah. Alright, I really like it. I think it turned out really super cute. Oops. So now the cover looks like that. Yeah, I think it looks good. Here's the prototype cover. And then here is the cover we're just working on. So we might have got a little bit more heavy-handed on the speckled egg over here, but I still like it. I still think it looks really, really good. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do the binding piece. Okay, so next we're going to do the binding. So this is going to be the elastic binding, the accordion elastic binding. I did a video showing you, a real quick video showing you how to do that earlier on when I first released these templates. I will link that video up here and down below. It's just a really quick little demo. But for this album, we're going to use page 6.2 in the scrap journal. I'll have this linked down below, or not linked, but I'll have it listed down below, the pages that I use. I'm trying to do that to the best of my ability. Sometimes I don't get them all in there, but I try. So 6.2 is the page that we're going to be using for this album. This is for 2 pages. We're going to be doing 2 fins. And I printed the letters background on here because I'm using the letters background to mat the inside covers as well. So I wanted it to kind of flow. So I printed it onto white cardstock. And I've already cut it out all the way around. I scored every single mark with my We Are memory keepers and a stylus. I just went through, lined up my lines, and went and scored every single mark or line. Oops. I then went and prepped every one of those scores. I went one way all the way down, and then I flipped it over and went the other way like this, just for flexibility, right? And then I notched those ends with a regular hole punch. So I just took it and just notched. It's almost like a half a circle, just all 4 of those spaces. And I inked the edges. I think that's all I've done so far. Just the top and the bottom edge. So how this is going to end up being, so you've got this edge here and this edge here. These 2 are going to attach to the covers. Then you got a 1/2 inch spacing next to those, and then next to that you have your fin that's going to be the accordion elastic binding. So it's going to look like this. So this is attached to the cover. Here's a 1/2 inch spacing. Here's your fin that's going to go like this. 1/2 inch spacing, fin that goes like this, 1/2 inch spacing, and then this attaches to the back cover. Okay, so that's what we've got so far. So the next thing we want to do is we want to add some Tyvek to the back here. So what I've done, I have a piece of Tyvek, and this is the same stuff we used on the covers. And I took 3/4 of an inch. This is taller than the binding piece, by the way. I took the 3/4 of an inch. You could use an inch. It doesn't matter, whichever one you want to use. I took 2 strips of the 3/4 tape all the way down, and I'm going to trim that apart because we need 2. So I'm just going to take the craft knife, trim right next to the tape. Like that. You could, if you wanted to, you could use fabric. If you can't get a hold of Tyvek, whatever you used on your covers, you can use for this as well. And then I'm going to trim between the 2 pieces. So you could have, if you wanted to, you could have taken a larger strip of tape and just cut down strips. But this is just as easy, or maybe even easier, depending on what you have, what kind of tape you have. I don't know why I'm putting that away. I'm going to need it. Maybe not. We'll see. So now what we're going to do is the part that's got the notches. So on this side, we are going to add this strip of Tyvek right here into that peak. Okay, we're going to go, and we're not going to go, we're going to go end to end, but basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to have it hanging over both sides because I really want it to go to the very end. I want that notch to be protected. So I should have waited to do the notch until after I've added these, but I didn't. So we're going to remove the tape backing. And then you just kind of have to get it even. Well, it doesn't have to be even. Just make sure that you get it down the middle of this area, period. Right? So, see how it's sticking out on both sides? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim that up. I think I'm just going to use, this. There's one side. And there's the other. Right, and then I'm going to do the next piece. Same thing. Okay, and then I'm going to take the hole punch again, that same hole punch, and I'm going to try to notch that Tyvek out there. It's going to be hard because it's the tape. It's going to make it a little bit more difficult. Let's try this side. So I'm gonna have to start on one side here and then flip it around and cut from the other side. Yeah, if I'd have just waited, I think, to do this at one time, it wouldn't be so hard. Come on, let go. Oh, dang, that turned pretty good. Let's get this one. See, the tape's kind of getting stuck on the... Oh, wow. And then the last thing I want to do with that is burnish it down. Oops. Burnish it down. This is a Teflon bone folder. Ooh, I might have to trim it a little bit better. Burnish it down really good. I feel like there's an edge. It's sticking out. I don't think it's going to matter. Might just be a little nitpicky. Okay. And let's go ahead and re-ink that once again. Your little half circle doesn't have to be perfect, so if it gets a little wonky, it's okay. On the back side here, we need to add some tape. So let's start with, I'm going to use 3/8 of an inch tape, and on the parts that are the 1/2 inch spacings, let's just go ahead and put some of that here. And I'll show you that. So in this particular case, there's 3 spaces that are the 1/2 inch. So if you made your album bigger with more fins, you just, you just put it all on. Or if you use the 1/4 of an inch spacing, make sure you use 1/4 of an inch tape in those areas, because there's several different options for you in the scrap journal for the elastic. If you didn't want such a big spacing in between, you could just use 1/4 of an inch spacing. That was which ones are those? Those are the 6.3 and 6.4 are 1/4 of an inch spacings. The 6.1, 6.2 are 1/2 an inch. So you can have either 3 fins or 2 fins, and the 1/4 of an inch you could have 4 fins or 2 fins. Okay, so we got that. All right. And then on the areas, first let's do this real quick. We need to prep that Tyvek, that fold. We need to work that just a little bit. Matter of fact, I might even do it both ways. And I'm gonna ink it just so you can see it on the camera and the video a little bit better. You do not have to ink this at all. Do not ink it if you're making it yourself. I'm just doing that so you can see what I'm doing. Those 2 spots are important. Let me get this one too. My baby went back to the dorms yesterday. Today's his first day of class, and he was just texting me. He said he didn't sleep well last night, so alrighty. Okay, so ultimately we need to make sure that the peak is on the other side and not this side. So the peaks are going to be here, like so. So even if your paper starts cracking, it does not matter. It's not going to matter because that Tyvek is going to hold it. Tyvek. I don't really know how you pronounce it. That's just the southern accent in the way I talk just makes it sound like that. I don't know, Tyvek, T-Y-V-E-K, I think. It's not going to matter if your paper cracks because this will keep it from tearing. Okay, let's see. So we got that. And because my paper cracked because I folded it both ways, and that Tyvek does add thickness to it, so just be prepared and aware. Alright, so next step is I think we're going to do this piece here. Okay, so the next thing I think we're going to do is on the areas, this is where the elastic is going to go. So on the score mark that's furthest away from where the elastic is going to be on both sides of it, we want to put 1/4 of an inch tape. And get it as close to that score mark as you can, as far away from the area where the elastic is going to be as you can. Okay. Being super, super, super picky here. All right, so let's do both fins that way. The reason you want to be super careful is because you do not want the elastic to get stuck on the tape. You want it to be free. And then we want to burnish. Okay, so far we have 3/8 inch, right here camera, right here, there we go, 3/8 inch, 1/4 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch, 3/8, 1/4 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch, 3/8. Okay, so then the next thing we need to do is these two pieces here. And I think if you've got it, use your 3/4 of an inch. Well, let's just go right up next to that score mark, and then we'll have to use 1/4 of an inch on the edge. If you had an inch wide tape, you could totally use it there, but I don't at the moment. I don't know what I've done with my inch. I thought I had some. I think I ran out, but I think I have some in my other room, but I just haven't checked. So we're gonna make do. And then the 1/4 of an inch, we might have to overlap a little bit. That's okay. You could also use like a liquid glue, like a what's it called? Art glitter glue, or a tacky glue, or a Scotch quick dry. I don't know if that's what it's called anymore. Scotch glue. Alright, so then let's burnish those down. Okay, next step, we're going to add the elastic. So this is the elastic. I've been using this for a long time. This is white elastic. This is 2mm, I think, elastic. I'll have it linked in my Amazon. But currently right now with the mask making, it might not be as readily available. But I'll have it linked in my Amazon. So I'm going to use, let's see, what did I decide I needed? I need 2.5 per fin. So it's probably too much. I never gauge it correctly, and that's okay as long as it's enough. Oops. Okay. So it's just as simple as we're going to lay it in that channel where the notches are, like that, right where I inked that edge there. We're going to flip it over and we're going to tie it. You don't have to be super tight right now, but you need it to be, somewhat to where it's not real super loosey-goosey here. You want it to be tight, but you don't want the paper to be bulging on itself. You just kind of want to get it tied. And then the same thing for this other one. You don't want it to be super tight, but you want it to be tight enough, right? You want to be able to move it around. And I'm going to leave these ends on right now because we might have to tighten it again. Okay, so those are added on there. See where they're still really loose. I mean, I'm not putting a lot of pressure on it to do that. It's still really, really loose, but it's tight enough to where it's not sagging anywhere. Okay, so then we want to take our tape off. Of the 1/4 inch tape that's on either side of that elastic that we just added. Oh, see, I might be a little tight, but that's okay. So I took the backing off of this 1/4 inch and that 1/4 inch. And I've been debating on whether or not to add liquid glue here, and I think I'm going to, just to make sure it doesn't come completely apart. I don't think it's gonna matter that much. You just need to make sure you don't put a lot to where it seeps onto the, I need to clean my little tip off here, to where it seeps out onto the elastic. It just needs to be a little bit. So this is art glitter glue. And I'm just going to run a really tiny line down one of the 1/4 inch strips closest to the 1/2 inch area, right? And then I'm going to take this side of it and I'm going to fold it over. Yep, I'm going to fold it over the elastic and press. Come on, elastic. Work with me. And press. I'm going to take this bone folder and I'm going to press. Right, and you can see a little bit of the glue seep out there. I'm going to flip it over, take this bone folder and press. I don't know how well you can see that the elastic is now trapped between those two layers. Whoops. My camera, I don't know what's happened. I think a setting has been changed or something. So it's trapped between there, and it should be movable still. I mean, it's in a tight spot, so it's gonna be tough, but right? So you can totally move that elastic around, right? So then I want to flip it this way, and let's make sure. So now we have, whoops, now we have a 1/4 inch, 3/4 inch tape, 1/2 inch and 1/2 inch, because we have now created a peak with the elastic. Okay, I'm trying to make sure that it's focusing. I wonder if that'll help. Something underneath. Nope, it wants to focus on the thing underneath. There we go. I think that's focused. So there's one peak. Now let's do the other. And I'm going to remove the 1/4 inch backing, and then pick one and put some art glitter glue right along that edge there, furthest away from the elastic. And then we're going to take it and fold it over top of the elastic. So you gotta be careful. You don't want that elastic to get stuck on the tape. And so, and then burnish. And I guess really, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if it does get stuck on there. I think it'll still be all right. It is elastic, so I'm gonna burnish that down really good. So now we have 2 peaks, right? 2 peaks. So we've got the 3 1/2" spaces right next to each other. We've got the elastic trapped in between those 2 sides on the peaks. It's like my camera is fighting against me, you guys. Anyway. So I'm gonna just make sure I'm gonna double burnish, 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 burnish. And I'm not gonna tighten these up yet. I'm gonna wait until I get them in the album. Look how loosey-goosey they are now, huh? Okay. Now it's time to attach them into the album. And it should fit perfectly on your spine piece. Perfectly. You just have to center it top and bottom. No big deal. And I think what we'll do is we'll start with the middle piece and then take the sides off after we get that middle piece down. So we'll take the 3 1/2" pieces, or I'm sorry, 3/8 of an inch actually. That's the 1/2" space. We'll take that off. And I'm going to use some art glitter glue. I'm going to go into the little valleys here. Well, actually not valleys, but like the area where the 2 pieces come together to form the fin. I'm going to put some glue down here. That's where the raw paper is as well. And maybe just a little bit on the tape, not much. I just want to make sure that it stays down. Okay. This doesn't really have a top and a bottom. The pattern on here doesn't, but okay, so it should fit perfectly on your spine piece for the width, and then you just kind of have to gauge the top and the bottom. Yep. Nailed it. Then you want to press it down and then burnish it down. All right. Okay, so then we want to attach these pieces, these 2 side pieces down. Let's take the backing off of the largest portion first and then burnish that 1/4 inch down once again just to make sure. And then remove the backing off of there and press it down. Do the same for this side. So now we've got that in, and if you remember in the last video, we had printed off the mats for the inside covers with the letters background on it, and we decided to wait to add them until after we've got this piece, the binding piece in. So we can totally do that now. We can just add those on top, and I haven't decided if we're going to do anything on the covers, the inside covers just yet. We could add a pocket if we wanted to. We could add several pockets. We could do a removable thing. We can decorate it. There's a lot of things we can do, but for right now, I'm just going to add these mats. So the mats for this cover is in the foundations. Oops, and it's on page 49A. So we're doing the A size album. So the mats for that are 49A. So we printed off the letters background onto white cardstock. And if I'm not mistaken, did I mess up one? Yeah, where I had actually had it print on the backside accidentally. I don't know how I keep doing that, but I tell you what, it's getting on my nerves. I need to check every time now if it's gonna, you know, be an issue. Okay. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to use some tape around the edges and then glue on the inside. So let's do that. Okay, I'll do the other one off camera. So I just wanted to show you. I just used 1/4 inch tape, and you could use art glitter glue if you want, but this tends to kind of show through depending on what cardstock you're using. You could use a Fabri-Tac if you would like, which is what I'm going to use, or you can use a glue stick type thing. So use whatever you have to glue down the inside. But I'm going to use the Fabri-Tac by Beacon. Take that tape backing off. Again, Fabri-Tac by Beacon. I might have to make my hole a little deeper, or bigger, deeper. And I'm just going to go like this, which kind of disperses the Fabri-Tac into a thinner layer and allows it to go a little bit further. And you don't use as much glue this way. Okay, flip it over. All right, let's do the front cover. Remove my elastic. And I'm just going to lay it on here. There's about 1/8 of an inch all the way around. And it's a little, oh, there we go. Should be the same height as your binding piece, or really close. And then I'm going to burnish. If you give it a good burnish, that Fabri-Tac, it'll get a good contact with the paper, and you can smoosh it out really good. And you'll have no worries. Okay, so I'm going to do the back cover real quick, and I'll be right back. Okay, I got the back mat on, and I kind of was thinking too, I just wanted to kind of mention too that if you didn't want to do this type of binding, this accordion elastic binding, you could use the binding that we used in the foundations, where we just attached the pages to the fin itself with the tab of the page. You could totally do that as well. You don't have to use this type. The reason we're using this type, you could do the stitched one if you want the stitched accordion like we did in the last album. But the reason I'm telling you this is because if you may not have the elastic and you may want to do this album, you know, you don't have the elastic, so you could use other forms of binding. But the reason we're using the elastic is so things will be removable. So that makes me think too that if you didn't want to use the elastic, you could also use a string like baker's twine or something like that. It might be a little bit more apt to breaking, or maybe some waxed thread, something like that, a thicker waxed thread or a twine. It would probably work just as good. It's just not as flexible. So think about that too. So if you can't get your hands on elastic, or if you're just making, let's say you're just making a mock-up. Let's say you're just making it right along with me, just to see how it works, just to get your feet wet, so to speak, in this type of album. So use whatever you have. If you can't get your hands on elastic or don't have any elastic, try to look around and see what you have. And it may or may not work. I don't know. I can't guarantee it because I haven't done it, but you could also, you could definitely give it a try, and you can let me know if it worked. So again, I'm gonna ink those edges to where the paper cracked there. Okay, but again, it's not gonna matter because we've got that Tyvek in there. That is good and sturdy. So next, I think I'm going to tighten these up just a little bit. So I'm gonna loosen this back up. I'm going to take my pokey tool, and I could have just like tied a bow or something, but, and I could put it down at the bottom if I wanted to, so it wasn't as visible in the, like I could make the knot fit right into that or something. Let's see if that'll work. Yeah, where it kind of gets hidden down here. Let me get a little bit more. So we'll see how that works. There we go. See it sitting down here? All right, we're going to do that, and then let's do it to this one as well. You know what though? I think let's leave it up a little bit, because I'm gonna leave a tail, and I don't really want them hanging down too much, because I might have to retie these. So I'm gonna leave about an inch and a half tail on both of those. Jeez. Just for now. And then we could potentially just tuck the whole thing in there if we wanted to. Okay, so that's a little bit tighter. Okay, so I think that's all we're going to do for this video today. I think in the next video, we'll start making the journals that are going into these elastics. We'll start making those covers that are going to go in here. Because in my prototypes, like this here, this section here, this is the cover just to protect the first couple pages. So we're going to make a couple of those, and I'm going to show you a couple different ways to go about making those journal covers for the inside of your ephemera folder album. Okay, so that is all I have for you guys. I will see you in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video, all that jazz, and I will see you next time. Bye.